All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good afternoon also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. We have an impromptu show for you, but we do have a surprise for you in regards to Pensacon, which, as you know, happened last week. We did have a couple of guest hosts on previously with Emily Whitten of our team, as well as Tom Zoller. But we do have another guest who was on tap there at the show last week. So just to give them a quick introduction, they are a 4-time Emmy nominee for their work in I Know My First Name is Steven for Parker Lewis. I should say, excuse me, I apologize. They are a Emmy nominee for their work in I Know My First Name is Steven, and they are a 3-time Young Artist Award nominee. Two times over for Parker Lewis, Can't Lose, and once again for I Know My First Name is Steven. So without further ado, I want to introduce Corin Nemec. Let me bring him on. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just in my hilarious outdoor hat right now. I didn't realize how funny. I didn't realize how funny it was going to look on camera. We had tried to start this chat out on the porch because it's a beautiful day out here where I am, but my neighbors are having a full-on outdoor kind of barbecue party with a speaker system and everything. So it was wasn't quite possible, but left the hat on for you.
Appreciate it, man. So with that being said, just to get started, man, I know it's been a while. I know we were talking about a project that you're working on currently, and we're going to get into that. But first, just to check in, how you been? I know it's been a minute.
Yeah, doing good, man. Just like we're going to be talking about, just been really hustling, working on this, getting this show off the ground. Which we'll get into later. Other than that, just doing some jobs, filming here and there. Got a couple of films. One that just came out called My True Fairy Tale. Dimitri is the director of that. Great guy, good friend of mine, and he did a wonderful job on this film. It's available on a bunch of different platforms. I believe Amazon has it. But My True Fairy Tale, you can search that if you'd like. And then I have one that'll be coming out a bit later in the year called Day Labor. And a great group of people there. Gary Cairns, one of the actors in that, Danny Arroyo, a bunch of other really talented actors, and really kind of a gnarly, dark action adventure that takes place down on the border. More of a thriller, I'd say, than an action adventure, but a great piece. Excited about that too.
Awesome stuff. So just hitting the ground running. As I mentioned last week, we had Pensacon underway. Can you tell me, how that weekend was, and as a guest, and with for all intents and purposes, unless anyone out there has been living under a rock, we have been quarantined for pretty much about let's say a year and a half, right? So it's probably among one of the few cons that we've had that have jump started the con season with happening in a lot of capacity. So now that we are starting to implement new protocols of no longer in some instances having to wear a mask. So can you speak to that and how that weekend went for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had a great time. The Pensacon itself, if anybody's interested in if you've never been to a Comic-Con style convention, Pensacon is a great medium-sized one to go to in Pensacola, Florida. It's absolutely beautiful there. The downtown area is is very well done, very well kept. It's very close to the beach. It's got great restaurants, nightlife, and day life. You know, there's plenty to do. You know, fishing, jet skiing, boating, whatever. Laying on the beach, who cares? You know, there's tons of stuff to do down there. So if people want to go look at Pensacon, they also do a Halloween one as well. A Halloween fest down there by the same promoters, but they do a great show. It's well staffed. It's extremely well organized. It's in a great area, and they treat everybody extremely, extremely nicely. Is the best way to put it. And yeah, it's a great time. I enjoyed it. You know, the all of the regulations, all that stuff, the way that I've been approaching it really is just, you know, I just go by what area am I in, and what are, you know, what's being asked of me to do, and all of that stuff. And because I'm not trying to just, you know, go out there and just rub everybody the wrong way. So, you know, I just go by whatever guidelines are posted at the door and everything. And Florida's well opened up. Everybody seemed to be kind of on their own page a bit, which is fine. I didn't see, I didn't see anybody stressing over it. You know, it was a great time. It was a well attended event. My personal panel I did was a packed house. I was very excited about that, and it was great meeting anybody who showed up. It was a great way to introduce the show that I'm doing with Jason London, Blackwater Blues. It was a gentleman named Steve Weiss who directed our Indiegogo pilot that we raised the money for. It's a half-hour dark comedy, murder mystery. So we were able to shoot an entire half-hour pilot for it with an Indiegogo fundraiser, and it went great. It went absolutely fantastic, and we're in the post-production stage right now. It's looking fantastic. We were able to show a couple of scenes that weren't fully colorized yet, and didn't have all the Foley, and you know, but we wanted to give people a taste of a couple of scenes and how they'd play out. And you know, because we're stylizing it in a very graphic novel type of way. We're doing digital graphic novels for every episode, and you'll be able to get a little bit more insight into the characters and the backstory in the comic book version versus, you know, what you're seeing on the screen. But it's all going to be tied in and out of each other. It's a very cool concept that we're working with here, and so we did a kind of a panel on it. We did a panel for Blackwater Blues with Steve Wise, myself, Jason London, Brad J, one of our co-producers, a couple of the other cast members, Chase Waters, Bobby Ben, I'm sorry, and Chad Kimsey was there. They all played some different characters in it, and showed a couple of the scenes, and it just went over. I couldn't ask for it to have gone over better. I mean, the lines that were meant to be taken humorously were really laughed at in a way that I was so happy with. You know, all the beats and moments were completely duplicated. The style was appreciated, and the only negative feedback we got from anybody after the panel was that they wish they could have watched the whole episode. So that was the only negative feedback that we got, and it was almost a packed room where we did the panel. So I was extremely happy about that too, and I think everybody else had a good time.
That's awesome, man. And to speak further on that, and afterwards, as I said, I'm going to get right into Blackwater Blues. When it comes to cons, and I know you're no stranger to it, is just that idea of being able to kind of get a kind of a litmus test or a feel of all the things over the course of your career that fans have responded to. So can you talk to that and all the various projects that you have had that you have been a part of and you have made your mark in. How fascinating it is to see which particular project speaks to certain people, whether it's maybe The Stand, or maybe it's
right,
maybe it's Drop Zone. Like I'll go real Drop Zone, man.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
or even, you know, other projects, whether it's with, as I was mentioned before, I know my first name is Steven, or Parker Lewis. So
Yes, I would say that in terms of at the table, you know, at these conventions, the majority of folks who want to come by and collect an 8x10, you know, many of these people are collectors, even more so than just specifically a fan of one particular person. They might be a fan of a whole franchise, and they like to collect as many of the different characters as possible from those franchises. So,
for sure.
so I would say that, you know, that Stargate, Supernatural, The Stand, and Parker Lewis, those tend to be the larger focus of people who are there to you know, to add to their collection, or to start a collection or whatever of autographed 8x10s by different actors or comic artists or musicians or whoever, you know, wrestlers, you know, a lot of different people show up at these conventions. It'd be pretty cool if more musicians showed up at these. I think that'd be pretty rad. It's a great place to be able to do performances as well as meet
For sure.
fans, because you already have thousands of people that are already there, and a lot of these events, they kind of taper off in the evening time, and other people will have get-togethers, or they'll have, you know, some kind of special, you know, VIP dinners, other things will go on. But it would be a great opportunity to have concerts and do things like that too, which would be kind of cool. But that said, those are the main focus, you know, that I see. And then I usually have, you know, other stuff like you mentioned. I know my first name is Steven images, and images from Drop Zone or Operation Dumbo Drop, or, you know, some of the other ones. I really need to get some stuff that's a little bit more obscure. I know, you know, oddly enough, you know, one thing that I sign quite a bit of is Sand Shark DVDs, which
oh, right. Oh
which
man,
is
yeah,
hilarious.
of course, yeah.
But I do,
So
oddly enough, quite a number of people, almost every show I go to, at least a few people show up with a Sand Sharks CD that they want me to autograph, which I find hilarious.
that's awesome. So with that being said, I know we were touching on it throughout the interview thus far. Talk to me more about blues and its status right now, because I know when we were talking previously, it was still in its earlier stages, and you were still, you know, at the ground level of still continuing to develop and build it. And I mean, I've been keeping track of it and seeing how it's been developing. So, you know, can you talk further about that? I know you were, you know,
Sure.
kind of giving the Spark Notes version, but go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. You know, well, initially it had been developed as a 1 hour, you know, kind of dark comedy, murder mystery, action adventure type. Not as much action, you know, but more of the adventure side. But we will be having quite a bit of the action strewn throughout it. But it's not going to be like an episode of the A-Team or something like that. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But that said, we had the backing from a company out of LA to shoot our 1 hour pilot and all of that. We were in pre-production. We had already spent a small amount of the budget had already been pre-approved and spent in pre-production and all of that. And we were pretty far down the road. We were about a week away from going into production when we found out that the company had gone over budget on another project of theirs, and it really kind of sank their development fund, and so they had to pull the money from our shoot, at least temporarily or whatever. But at that point, we had gotten so far into it, we had to just regroup and decide, did we want to keep the momentum, keep the focus going strong, or try or sit on the back on the sidelines in hopes that this company might in a month or two suddenly be able to put the money up again. And instead, we decided that we would regroup, make some adjustments to truncate the story down to a half hour, do an Indiegogo fundraiser so we could at least get the half hour in the can. That's when we got involved with Steve Wise and others. Still had the same cast for the most part, almost the exact same cast that we were supposed to have for the hour pilot, because we were already so deep into it, and folks really came to the table for that. And we made it happen. And I got to say, the half hour version of it plays. I think it plays a lot better than the hour version. I was very, very pleasantly surprised at the overall turnout of it, and I think it was fortuitous that everything went down the way it did, because had it not, we'd have been stuck in that hour format, and it would have been a lot longer of a walk for the same return that I think that is a lot more fun in a half hour format. We can tell kind of in broader strokes the story than getting too kind of embedded in all of these details, and then spread the whole entire story out over a couple of seasons. So it's quite exciting, because the broken down episodes of the entire first season really become enough for two 10 episode seasons as they are now. That's actually what I'm working on right here on on my computer, is doing the follow-up episode to the pilot that we shot, because we took that episode and basically split it in half. So I need to go back to our original pilot episode and take all of the stuff that we edited out of the pilot, and I need to reform that into the second episode, so that you get all of that information in the second episode, the next half hour, and then I'll continue that forward with all of the remaining episodes that we have lined up. It's a lot more fun for me, actually. I'm really enjoying it. I think that the audience will eat it up as well, especially with that short attention span theater like we kind of have today.
For sure, man. And kind of, I guess my next question is, I suppose, a hybridization of talking about blues and talking about the con scene as well. It's funny you brought up the mention of having that music component, because there are some cons that do that. Like Dragon Con is pretty big about that. A lot of times you'll have an opportunity.
I'll be at Dragon Con this year. I'll be down there this year.
Oh, well, there you go. But yeah, they have, I know that they have a nice presence of music, especially in their nightlife with a lot of their events that they do afterwards, and they put a lot of bands on display. Now, with that being said, talking further about not just this project as well as our con scene, I'm assuming now that things are starting to open up. I mean, you just mentioned it with Dragon Con, that outside of Dragon Con, what is going to be the continued push to continue to get the word out about Blackwater Blues?
Oh, well, I mean, we have. I don't want to give too much away. Okay. My producing partner Benjamin Easterday. We've got a number of kind of plans that have been laid in place in order to get this done, because our ultimate mission right now is like we were doing the first time, is finding the independent financing to push us through block shooting at least the entire first season, and to do that independently of a studio or network, and make our show, and then sell the whole thing as a full season package. And then start dealing with, do we want to finance the second season the same way, and use the sale to whichever platform that we sell it to as as kind of our banknote, to raise that funding. But there's other ways of going about and raising the funding within the industry in a very interesting way, and that's what I don't want to expose just yet, because I don't want to give anybody else any of these great ideas. but it'll come out eventually. But the way that advertising space in the internet world and all of that works, and the way that people do YouTube shows, their own shows, and the way that all of these things are kind of cross-pollinating now when you get outside of pre-selling to a network or studio and being under their umbrella for the full production, which means that potentially a lot of your creative control slips away. But in reward for that, you end up getting studio and network type budgets and all the bells and whistles that come with that. So the way that we're approaching it is kind of a roundabout way, but it's going to be very cool and it's going well, and I think we're going to be able to pull it off and be able to finance independently the entire first season and be in production preferably by late summer if things go accordingly. So right now we're just we're just pushing forward on the pilot episode, getting it looking as good as it can, so that when we take it to these companies and the different individuals that I'm talking about now, we'll be able to show them really what the whole concept is, not just out of that teaser that we have out right now.
Absolutely. So just speaking, further on that, you were talking about some of the other projects that you have going, even outside of Blackwater Blues. Can you talk a bit also about that and some of the other projects that people can expect as well? Because, as someone who knows how it goes in putting together and producing your own project, there's let's just say an interesting time management piece to that, where you're investing so much energy in your baby, so to speak, in your project, and sometimes
absolutely
it can be really tricky to travel outside of that and to create outside of that. So can you talk a bit about that dynamic too, of continuing to work outside of that?
Yeah, absolutely, and also it's there's momentum involved too, like everybody knows in almost any industry. And last year, at the very beginning of last year, I had so many things going on. It was about to be, last year was going to be one of the busiest years that I had in terms of knowing what was to come. I've had busy, I've had busy years where it was just like stuff out of left field, but not as many busy years where you're like, okay, I have all these 5 projects, these signings, all this stuff, everything's all kind of lined up, and I knew like pretty much exactly what was going to be happening almost all the way through the end of the year, which is almost unheard of for the film business, for right. unless you're on a series. So and then the whole shutdown happened and everything just went goodbye. It was like it was just evaporated, and slowly it was like one thing dropped and another thing dropped, another thing got rescheduled, and this is by the end of the year, all of that momentum, all of those projects, everything was gone. And then some of them are still trying to pick back up now. One of them did end up picking back up. That was the wrong cheerleading coach, I think was the title of it. It was a Lifetime movie I did in I think it might have been late November of last year or something. But and then and then a couple of the other projects just never got back up off their feet yet. So because once financing hides from you, it's like it's tough to shake that tree. And when you get it shaken, and you can get that, and you can get some cash coming out of it for the projects, and you can show them that your return on investment is legit, then it's pretty easy to continue doing that. But when you have a shutdown like last year, and you have a lot of independent financiers who have taken their money and started putting it elsewhere, whether it's in crypto or stocks and bonds or any other way of doing money, last year really was a hard hit, I think, for the independent filmmakers, and to ramp back up and get back up to speed is very tough. So it's been a fairly slow year. Fortunately for me, I've gravitated towards some other things to make money on the side, other than just acting and stuff. As well as my painting, I do commission paintings and murals. So that's another source of revenue for me. And then I also work with in some construction and stuff like that. So, I do whatever hustle I got to do to keep things moving forward. And I have all the confidence in the world that what we have here with Blackwater Blues, with Jason London and myself and the rest of the team on there. Great group of actors. Marco St. John is just brilliant as a character, Big Tuna, who's the old mob boss. We have Vivica Fox currently attached to play Mr. Marsh, which is the new mob boss of the Dirty South, which we're calling the Gulf Coast Mafia. And then we have Creek Wilson, who's a great, well-known character actor who's playing a comic book store owner. That's kind of where this comic book whole vibe comes from, because there's this whole twist in the story about how do you launder money through comic sales and comic books and stuff like that. So there's a really interesting, I don't want to give too much away on the story, but there's a really cool, interesting twist there. And a lot of that came out of my conversations with Scott Hoberman, who owns 3 Alarm Comics in Biloxi, Mississippi. A great guy. And we had a really funny, lively, creative chat of like, when I was developing the original script, like how you could, move dark money through comic sales, or move dark money into light money pockets, you know what I mean, through comic sales. Wow. and online auctions and things like that, where people's names and all of that stuff are hidden. And nowadays, obviously, you can pay in crypto currencies and things like that. But a really cool twist on it, which is what brings in the whole comic, the whole graphic novel style. And we do a lot of graphic novel transitions within the show itself. So it'll like freeze frame and it'll go to like a graphic novel version of the characters and all that stuff. So there is some of that in there, quite a bit of it, which adds to the style and the pacing, and gives you an ability to kind of give a little bit more information, thought bubbles, when versus what somebody's looking at, but showing what they're thinking, more descriptive boxes and stuff like that. So it's exciting. It's fun.
Awesome stuff. Well, Corin, as always, man, thank you so much and hopping on.
Yeah, man. Sorry. It took us a while to get back to it, dude. It's been, I've been on it 6-7 days a week lately. It's exhausting. I'm a shell of my former self, but we're pushing through, and we're going to make it happen for Blackwater Blues and all those who supported it so far, all those who supported the Indiegogo, and all those who volunteered their time in any capacity, whether it be for the doing a lot of our online stuff. We've had some great people who've volunteered their time. Kat Wynn has volunteered her time. Bobby Ben is doing quite a bit of the stuff for us in terms of the PR and everything outside of just playing his character in the show, helping us to promote it. We got musician Clay Hughes and Mose Jackson, who are both working on the score and the soundtrack, and original songs for it. And we just got it. We got a great team. We got a great editor and out of Atlanta, and the cinematography was fantastic. Kevin, our cinematographer, James, our editor, Steve Wise did a tremendous job on the directing. We had a fantastic cast. I just, it's gonna be, we're gonna knock it out of the park, dude. I mean, I'm fully convinced that this is gonna be completely and totally worth every painful moment.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it, man, and
Thanks,
keeping
brother.
track of what's
so
going
much,
on. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm available on, I'm pretty much just on Twitter and Instagram for the most part these days. I am the letter I and the letter M, and then my name, Corin Nemec, CORINNEMEC. So I am Corin Nemec. It's the same
down below, guys.
Yeah, it's the same as on Twitter as it is on Instagram. My art Instagram, which I haven't been updating hardly at all in the last number of months because I've been so busy keeping my head above water and keeping this show on track. I haven't really been able to do a whole lot of my street art and graffiti art. But that Instagram site is the number 1, 6, and 9. So the 169. And those are the numbers, not written out. So V169, you can check out some of my art there. Otherwise, you can check out Blackwater Blues TV series. We got it on YouTube. We have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, our own Blackwater Blues series.com. There's a merch shop set up, all that, everything. So, following Blackwater Blues will be another great way to keep track of where we're at with that.
All right, awesome. Well, once again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I want to thank my guest today, Corin Nemec, once again for hopping on to talk not only about Pensacon, but also Blackwater Blues. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers, guys. You can find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, on Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited, and of course me, Brandon Troy ENT on Twitter and Brandon Troy _ENT on Instagram. Thanks so much for watching. Be safe out there. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, and I will see you next time.
Peace. Love it. Peace.